Hello, people. How's it going? Well, this book's a long read, but this is a very good book. It's a very good book, very good author. I do enjoy his books. He's written and, I have his book on Augustus, I have on Hatred, and I have his book on Cicero. He's a very good author. This is a very good book. This book is probably the best book I have read on Alexander the Great. I mean, it deals with every aspect you can think of. It deals with Philip, his father Philip, and their problems. It deals with him and his mother and their problems. It deals with ancient Greece, ancient Macedonia, ancient Persia, and all the cultures that Alexander stormed his way through and conquered and spread Hellenism all over the place. It's a very good, in-depth book of the good, the bad, and the ugly in this man. I mean, this author doesn't hold back in showing Alexander for the asshole that he was sometimes. The language, but he was not always wasn't always a nice guy. And it really does show the ugly side of Alexander the Great. But it also shows you why he is called Alexander the Great. He talks about Physicia. It depends on how you look at what Physicia. I can't say the poor man's name. Physicia. I'm gonna I can find the word. I will say it properly. Vespasian, thank you. Talks about their relationship. Talks about the impact that Aristotle had on him. His father hunted down Aristotle, the philosopher, and said, "Hey, teach my son stuff." He did. He did influence Alexander a great deal. He influenced him in a lot of ways. Alexander would send stuff back from all the places he went to for Aristotle to study. I mean, this is a very good book on every of the world he lived in, the cultures he lived in, the cultures he encountered, the good influence and the bad influence of Babylon when he conquered it, his belief in he was related to Achilles and he was half god, and he was the son of a god, Zeus, sorry. This book, despite not being very big, is very well detailed, very well written. Anthony Everett has always done a very good job of his research. He's very in depth, very culturally minded. He talks about the mysterious death, talks about the different theories about his death. He talks about what happened to his empire after he died, and what happened with Ptolemy, and with Egypt, and with his dealings with Darius and Babylon, and his invasion of India. It's a very good book. I mean, it is very well detailed. I mean, it literally goes pretty much his entire life. But it just goes through all the campaigns. It talks about all the mistakes he made, and the people he dealt with, and how he dealt with them, and it was always nice. Certainly with his father. Yeah, his father and his mother Olympia. Um, don't watch the movies based on Alexander the Great, the one with Richard Burton in the 1950s, and certainly don't watch the one that Oliver Stone made. I mean, how do I explain these movies? Crap comes to mind. Quickly, Oliver Stone. It's very well made. It's just historically, just I don't think Oliver read a book. I'm pretty sure he read this one. One of Richard Burton has his technical problems, and also that wig on Richard Burton's head just doesn't look right. Because it is a wig. But it is. The book really does deal with the mythology of all the cultures and the people he dealt with, and how he dealt with them, and it deals with his. I know I keep saying it, but it's true. This book is a great book on the psychology of this man. He wasn't always a nice guy. He was also very generous at times. He could be very good for his army. And by the way, he would not have been able to do anything if it hadn't been for the army that Philip, his father, created. Philip of Macedon created the army that Alexander used. That army was not made by Alexander, it was made by his father. But it does show the complex, up and down, tumultuous, and sometimes deadly relationship he had with Philip. Philip didn't trust him. He wanted to. He also didn't want to. Alexander was a man of ambition, and his father was in the way. And it does deal with whether Alexander had anything to do with his father's death, his assassination, I should say. Um, it's a very well written why he wanted to do what he did. It does a very good job of the Persian Empire, explaining the Persian Empire and explaining the history of things and why Darius did this, that, and the other, why Alexander invaded. And I like this book. I'm not giving it enough credit. I'm not giving it enough good. This is one of those books. It's one of those books that you just get into if you really like ancient Greek history, Macedonian history, Persian history, including even Egyptian history, because this is where the Ptolemies came from. Cleopatra was Greek. This is where she came from one of Alexander's generals, Ptolemy. She was a Ptolemean, she wasn't Egyptian. I'm just going to keep saying that because in this day and age, it's a problem being truthful with facts. But that book, I know if you want to know everything and anything about Alexander the Great, and the culture, and the life, and the military campaign, and as I said, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the man, including the others, this is the book to read. I like Anthony Gifford. I like his books. I like his style of writing. It's very detailed. It doesn't have his opinions anywhere, which I didn't see any. Oh, yeah, it does. It deals with, let's see. More than 2 millennia have passed since Alexander the Great built an empire that stretched to every corner of the ancient world. Stories of both real and legendary events from his life have kept him evergreen in human imagination, with a legacy that has meant something different to every era of history. But who was this? Who was he in his own time? And Alexander the Great, Anthony Everett judges Alexander's life against the criteria of his age, which you should do, not the criteria of our age. We meet the Macedonian prince who was naturally inquisitive and fascinated by science and exploration. And he was. As his empire grew, Alexander exhibited respect for his new subjects, careful judgments, and administrative rule over vast territory, most of the time. But his career also had a dark side, and it did. An investigating an inveterate conqueror, inveterate, I'll have to look that up. Inveterate conqueror, Alexander glorified war and was known to commit acts of great cruelty, and he was. He was a very human. As the debate continues about the meaning of his life, Alexander's death has remained an unsolved mystery. An explanation of his death can lie only in what we know of his life. Everett ventures to solve that puzzle, offering an ending to Alexander's story that he has eluded so many for so long. This is a very good book. I know I keep saying that. I just want to read it. I like this book. I learned a lot I didn't know about Alexander. Glare is there. I'm trying to get the glare out of the way. There's a reconstruction of Philip, his dad, who was played pretty well by Val Kilmer in the movie. I will give the movie credit, the one by Oliver Stone. Val Kilmer did an excellent job. It was his greatest performance. That was Doc Holliday in that too. But he did a very good job. He talks about his different battles. He talks about his failures. He talks about he's an over Alexander. I'm talking about. He's a over fleshed out human being. He's not perfect. He's also not the worst human being he's ever lived. And this is a well fleshed out biography of Alexander. And if you do have to watch the movies, and I've seen both of them, I would take the Oliver Stone one only because it's done better. Historically speaking, it leaves a little bit to desire. It really does. I mean, Anthony Hopkins plays Ptolemy, which is fine. He does a pretty good an older Ptolemy. It does talk about what happened to his empire and why it was split. It goes into great detail about so many different aspects of Alexander's life and what happened to his empire after, and the person that he was, and the different people he was involved in. He did respect other culture. He did. He also wanted to conquer them and make them part of Greece. Probably that's it. Anyway, let's see here. I mean, it talks about the legends. It talks about his relationships with Spiceum. I'm going to have to say it for man's name eventually. It talks about how he deified him. It talks about their relationship, whether it was or wasn't sexual. It talks about whether he was or wasn't homosexual. It talks about different aspects of his personality. As I keep saying, this is an excellent book. I love this one. I thought it was a great book. This book will be one of the top 5 I've read this year. Finally finished about it, even though it started last year. I get sidetracked. But it's a fairly decent. It has a chronology in the back, and the timeline of his life in the back. I get the whole thing in there. You know, it does a pretty good job of it all. It talks about certain things. It is a great timeline. It is a chronology of his life. I mean, he does talk about the sources he used, the ancient Greek sources. He talks about the modern sources. He talks a lot about that. He will bring up a lot of ancient Greek sources and writers who talked about Alexander and his campaigns in his life. I mean, it really, he does a good job of, mentioning ancient Greece. But at the moment, I'm having a hard time finding this one. He does talk about different authors. Names I'm going to attempt to try to pronounce without wrong or badly. Like it was Spiceum. Yeah, I got it right. But it has. I mean, it does talk about the Persians. There are just books by Persians at that time, which I was aware of the author. I mean, it talks about the ancient sources, ancient sources, modern sources. Pretty sure. I have read one of them. I'm trying to find it. Robin. I'll try to find it. He also wrote one on. I don't know. I didn't like this book. I thought it was a very good book. I really old Fox Lane. Robin Lane Fox, sorry. Alexander the Great, published 1973. Up to 1973. Yes, I have read Robin Lane Fox's book a while. So I thought it was pretty good. I like this one better. Sorry, Robin. Trying to see if I can find. I'm only doing this up till 15 minutes. Yeah, that's pretty long enough. I also want to see if I can have any authors I have already read. Michael Grant, and also an author who's also done books on Greek history and culture. I don't think he's ever done one strictly just Alexander by himself. Michael Grant was an author of ancient history. It's pretty good to read. I'm not seeing an author I'm looking for. No, I'm not finding it. But this book is very well detailed. Has great reference material to look up. It talks about the ancient sources and the modern sources. This is an excellent book. Excellent. Movies are terrible. They're not good. It was not made by people who have actually read the book. But anyway, Alexander the Great. why he was called Alexander the Great. And sometimes Alexander the Butcher. Very human. Okay. Well, people, thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Behave yourselves, you know I'm not going to. I'm going to try to do one more video in an hour or so. See you later.